How you guys doing today?
Doing good.
You get excited for the show tonight?
The show?
The show. This is the show.
Oh, this
The
is
show?
the show.
Yeah,
The show.
very
excited. Show.
All right. So, I want to first talk to you guys about baseball, right? Because you both are here at Peddie. Baseball connected you guys, brought you together. So, has baseball always been a thing that you guys have been like interested in? Is it something you kind of grew up playing, or is it kind of like a new thing, or how's that been for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I started playing baseball when I was 4 years old. I mean, I picked up a bat as soon as I could walk, but competitively, when I say competitively, I mean T-ball. You know, I started playing baseball when I was 4, and I haven't missed a season since, and it's something that, you know, I can't really see myself without at this point.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the same for me. I started playing like organized baseball like 4 years old, like first year Little League. Been playing since then. I was really talking about, I think it was maybe you. Like, I was like, I can't imagine going to college and not playing baseball. Like, going to classes and then not being like in my head, like, all right, when I'm done with classes, I can go play baseball. Like, I just can't even picture that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Have you played any other sports in your life, or is that kind of just been a thing you guys have always played?
I think we both played ice hockey, right?
Yeah, I played hockey up until last year. Officially retired. You know, that's different, but
Yeah.
Hung up the skates.
yeah, the skates have been hung up.
Retired,
Looking for some
unfortunately.
pond hockey this year, though. Get out on
Yeah.
the lake.
Heard a lot about ice hockey. I've never like seen people play because none of the Peddie or middle school offered has ever offered it. But yeah, you guys get into a lot of fights in ice hockey. Is that also true at like the high school level as well, or?
I never was in a fight. I didn't really play it. I played up until I was into my freshman year of high school.
Okay.
So I was never really like that serious. I was also pretty trash. I'm not gonna lie.
The last couple of years we had some fights. Nothing
Yeah.
like too crazy, but
Yeah.
a little pushing and shoving.
Yeah. So what do they look like? How does it end up starting when you're in the fight?
I mean, generally somebody hits somebody, does something that's a little dirty, and then you just can't take that, so you have to fight back.
Would you say it's like a painful sport to play?
It's less painful than it looks.
Less painful?
More painful from just like the endurance piece of it.
Okay.
And like the physical output. Like getting hit and hitting people isn't as painful as it looks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, bro. I still remember like my skates would be way too small on me, and I'd like wear them after practice, and my feet would fucking
That's an
kill.
equipment
Yeah.
issue.
What about falling on the ice? Does that happen a lot? Or?
Yeah, you fall a lot. You fall a good amount. Depends on how like fast and how much you're trying to push it. Kind of like with anything else. If you're
Yeah.
inside what you can do, you're not going to fall. But I mean, when you're trying to push it, you do fall a little bit. And you know, really, it doesn't hurt that bad
I mean, you
because of the
got pads on,
pads. But I mean, if you've ever fallen without pads on, you know that hurts a lot.
Yeah. Well, so how's the roommate dynamic been working out for you guys?
It's funny you asked that. I don't know, I'd say we're both relatively considerate roommates.
Yeah.
We had a very nice cleaning session of our dorm last night.
Yeah, we needed that.
We set up some LEDs,
Okay.
vacuumed,
Pretty cool.
and then one of us wanted to go to bed, and the other one invited another member of Maribel into the room to sing and play the guitar.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, we had a little jam
It was
session
fun,
at
except
like
for
1 a.m.
unfortunately one person wanted to go to bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What time do you normally go on like weekdays? You guys normally try to sleep at?
I mean, I try to go to bed at about 12. I mean, it depends. Like, I generally wake up at about 7:50 and then show up to class
That's
about 7:03 or so.
Yeah.
So I want to get about 8 hours, and then I'll nap to like catch up throughout the rest of the day.
Yeah.
It kind of depends though. Like if it's like a physics test or something the next day, then you gotta really leave until late at night. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a go to bed as soon as possible thing, but that always is like after 11:30.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we try and get our sleep, but it's hard. We're in school, they give us a lot of work.
Do you think you kind of run on the schedule for like your whole life, like 12 to 7 kind of thing, or you think when you're in high school was it a little bit different, or over summer?
low-key, like last year, I would be going to bed so late and showing up to school like heinously late. Like
Yeah.
Like I would be, our first class would be like at 8, I'd show up at like 9:45 some days. Like that was also second semester, so like it was kind of whatever. But like during those were some late ass nights, just like on FaceTime with the boys, just fucking around. But,
Yeah. And
yeah.
what high school did you go to before this?
I went to a school called Heschel in New York City.
Oh, I see. Do you think like the restrictions and stuff were like less lenient than it kind of is at Peddie, or?
It's hard. Like, dude, I got so comfortable with like the staff and like my grade. We had a really small grade. I think it was maybe like 100 kids or something.
It's kind of like this, yeah.
But like, dude, like going to school with them for 4 years, like I had a group of boys, like we got so comfortable, like almost too comfortable with the faculty that like by the end it was literally like an extension of our home, low-key. Like the student lounge and stuff, like we would just literally do whatever we wanted, like no filter at all. And especially when we knew like we were graduating, like what our plans were, like the next year would be like college or whatever for me, a post-grad year. Like we kind of, like the leniency very much grew. Like we kind of just did whatever we wanted.
And you guys have never been to a boarding school before, right? Like your past school. Well, you were at Lawrenceville,
Yeah,
so were you boarding there?
I was on a boarder. I was a day student, so I didn't get the full experience. But
yeah,
like realistically, you're a boarder who just sleeps in his own bed. I mean, that sleeping in the dorm part's completely different because there's way honestly as like a boarder there's way more restrictions. There's like the check-in requirement. I know at Lawrenceville, like as a day student, like there was check-in, but like I could just like leave and then like go do what I wanted. But like here, once you checked in, you're kind of stuck. And obviously, you're staying away from home. You don't get the home cooked meals. That's probably the biggest difference, honestly. It's not getting like the nice home cooked meals. Like,
yeah.
when you go back home and your mom makes you like meatballs or something, that hits in here, you know?
Yeah, it's been hard with the food problem. But you guys, I know you've been ordering a lot of food since you've been here.
I've been ordering quite a bit of food, I would say. What do you think, average 1.3 Jackson?
More than that. You're over 1.5.
Dude, there are
Per
days when
day.
I don't work. Yeah, per day.
You're over 1.5 because you have you double up most things.
Dude, because you look at it through the wrong lens, bro. Because you get rewards when you order. So
That's true.
It's an investment.
That's true. You got Uber Gold. Yeah.
All right, if you want to call it that. I mean, look, you need to eat. I understand that.
Exactly, dude.
I
It's all about
personally,
the
I think it's a lot.
Some of us don't have the macros to order an entire
Do you think,
fucking
like,
pie of Meninos, bro.
Do you think the reason you order is mainly because you're not able to get enough of the food here, like in terms of meeting your macros, or it's more just like the food you're kind of just stuck in terms of?
I think it's both. Like if I really wanted to, I could just eat like pasta or whatever, which like, and I'm obviously not going to hit the macros for like protein and I'll get too many carbs. But then like, bro, I swear, like when they make chicken, like it just tastes like ass. Like they'll be throwing on like sauce for no reason. That just doesn't taste good.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, you can shove as much dry chicken down your throat as you want, but at some point, you just get sick of it.
Yeah, I guess I've kind of got used to it. I mean, I've gone like in and out of like getting food from home when I see my parents on the weekends versus eating here. It's a hassle trying to eat in your dorm. I feel like just having PFS makes it easier when you're trying to just eat.
Like, I don't know. I
eat out
I DoorDash like the house right outside of Maribel, even though like apparently we're not supposed to be doing that. But I don't know. It's pretty convenient. Shout out 359 South Main Street.
Yeah. I try and eat out of my fridge mostly. I have like stores of chicken and pork and some tortillas and some
Where do you get?
cheese.
You go to like Target or something to get some, or?
I mean, generally, when I go back home, I just have my mom make me like the maximum amount of chicken that we can fit.
How long does that last?
It lasts about 2 weeks, but it's a lot of chicken.
A lot of chicken.
The whole fridge is filled with chicken, tortillas. The freezer has like waffles and more chicken. So
yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of food in there, but still, even with that, like you can't eat all 3 meals a day out of your fridge. So you end up at PFS for at least one.
Yeah. So also this idea of being a postgraduate student, I think it's becoming more and more popular recently. In the past, I've always seen like some postgrad students, like a lot of football recruits and things like that, but it seems to be very, very popular this year going onward as well. So I guess what are like a lot of the motivations behind doing a postgraduate year as like a high school student, right? I know there are pieces of it where it's like you get to improve in your sports skills if you're trying to like go to college for sports, get that extra year to kind of get those grades up. But what are, I guess, were some of your motivations with taking a postgraduate year before going on?
I mean, what I told the admissions officers is that, I wanted to like complete my high school experience. That was a complete lie. More of it was just for the athletic side of it. I mean, as you mentioned with football, I think when you look at like, especially like Division I football, like the average age of a football player is like probably creeping up around that 24 age for college football players. I don't know if that's exactly true, but yeah, a lot of guys would come in and be older competing in their sport. And I think with COVID, a lot of the players in other sports have started to get older because they have extra years of eligibility. So there's like this backup of players now who are older players, more developed players, and I think realistically, if you want to get on the field early in your career or have the best opportunity to play at a school that you want to be at, then you have to put yourself in a position to do that. And I think that's why there's so many post-grads now. I think, at least when I was applying to schools, I'm sure it was the same for you, they were telling me like we had a 200% uptick in applicants. And no, it's like a huge jump between, obviously, the year before and even like this year and 2 years ago. So,
well, a lot of that is also like the COVID roster restrictions and stuff. Like, I don't know, like a lot of, like, because the NCAA kind of rules changed because of COVID, like, you had guys on like Division III baseball rosters who were playing and they were 24, 25 years old.
exactly.
And they had like extra COVID years and then like a grad student year and stuff like that. And it made it like the rosters were way, way too big. So starting, I guess it was like the 2022 high school graduate class, like they had a ton of post-grads in that class because the rosters were just fucked. And then that kind of just carried over all the way throughout.
Yeah, and that's like a cycle, right? As soon as one class does it, then all the classes are going to get pushed out.
Exactly.
Because there's only so many roster spots.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I took my post-grad year because I didn't get into the school that I wanted to go to for baseball, which that was pretty ass, I'm not gonna lie. Like, basically, they do like a pre-read, which coaches will like take your SAT, your GPA, the classes that you're taking, stuff like that, send it to admissions, and admissions will do like, essentially they'll tell you if you're like likely to get into the school or whatever, and the coach could like support you. So I was likely to get into the school with the coach's support, but unfortunately did not get into the school,
So decisions come out around like March usually for these schools, right? And then when do you make the decision that when do you start this application process for being a postgraduate and all that?
So for me, after I didn't get into my ED1 school,
Okay.
the remaining schools that I had that like were interested in me had used all their like support slots already in the like early decision, like early application round. So they couldn't support me, and like the remaining schools were extremely selective. It was like MIT, Caltech, East Chicago, and although I would say I have solid grades, like I kind of acknowledged that was a little bit of a long shot. So at that point, I just emailed like a ton of like prep school baseball coaches. Like I would email Mr. Treese, like just I'd probably email the Lawrenceville coach, just everyone that I could like kind of find their email address. Then whoever responded to me, I like got on a phone call with them if I liked them, and I came to visit, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I made the decision to post-grad pretty early. I mean, I decided pretty much in late August that I was going to post-grad, so I didn't even, like late August of last year. So I didn't even end up applying to any colleges.
Oh, okay.
For me, it was more of a decision like I need to develop as like an individual and as a player to put myself in a position to succeed early, and I felt that was like the main driving factor in why I decided to take a post-grad year. That was pretty much something that was decided
Pretty early on.
Thinking about like going to college.
I see. And I know like for postgraduates playing in like high school sports, there are a lot of restrictions it places on you, right? Because I know we had a postgrad wrestler for us last year, but he wasn't really able to engage in a lot of the matches we had because there were a lot of like public schools that we versed, things like that. So is it the same for baseball, or do you know like how many like restrictions are kind of placed on you guys?
Especially around here, it's different. So some schools, some leagues, some different parts of the country, they have different rules about age and what postgrads can play and what they can and cannot play in. Pretty much around here, the only thing that postgrads can't play in is the Mercer County tournament, for baseball at least. And I think it helps that it's a non-contact sport. It's sometimes harder to justify, like putting a 19, 20-year-old against somebody who could be theoretically 15. That's a big gap. But for baseball, there's not really restrictions, and luckily in the Maple, there's no restrictions on games. I know a couple of the leagues up like farther north, they had rules like you can only play 10 games. And realistically, like that's not something that you want to do.
Do you guys miss high school at all?
I miss high school so much, honestly. Like just the
You're
friends
still
that
in
I
high
made.
school.
Like yeah, but
Technically.
it's so different. Like just because I don't like know anybody, dude.
You know, that's the weirdest thing, like, about the whole post-grad thing, is that, and we heard this right when we got here, that Maribel is kind of like its own group of people, and I was thinking, like, no way that's going to happen. But when you realize that those are the people like that, like, group of, like, 18 people is who you spend all your time with, you kind of become friends with them really quick. And since you don't really know a lot of people outside of that group, like, well, from 4 years, because most people here have at least 3 years of friendship, like, built up between each other, and like, we just kind of got thrown right in, and that's definitely weird. Like, you don't. At Lawrenceville, I would say I knew like 95% of the people, like, by name, relatively. Like, I could be like, I know this person when I go up and talk to them, but like here I don't know. I probably wouldn't know like 5% of the people, 10%.
Like, other than like I guess like math, I know our entire class like by name. Other than that, like I don't think I know any like my English class.
Yeah, I barely know the kids in my classes.
Look, you don't know your
I know
name.
about half the kids in my classes, but I know our whole PA group. That's pretty much it.
Do you think that's kind of restricting in a way, because the amount of people you can really like socialize with or like kind of connect with is pretty limited, considering you have like only like an 18 group of like other Maribonians or whatever. Like, do you feel like compared to your high school, Mariboners? Yeah. I'm so sorry. Do you think you feel kind of restricted in like your ability to kind of make a lot of friendships or meet a lot of people and have that kind of experience?
I think it's less of a restriction. I guess personally, I'm a little bit disappointed in myself. I would have liked to make some more friends earlier on, but I feel like realistically, as like we kind of move through the year, like even at this point in the year compared to a month ago, like made more friends and like met people that, you know, like that I'd hang out with or do things with. So I think that like as the year progresses, you're gonna meet more people, and by the spring you're probably gonna have a solid group of friends. But just at this point, like naturally, it hasn't been something that has progressed like super rapidly. You're not gonna be friends with everybody in a month, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, my output of it, like when I was coming here, was if I had my group of boys back in high school, and like if 18 new random dudes showed up and like I had no idea who they were, like realistically, I would probably not make that big of an effort to like become close with those kids as like I would the kids that I was super close with already, which like that obviously makes sense, right? So it's just kind of like it's nice being like if you get to know kids in your class, obviously like that's the easiest way to do it. But like just if you don't know someone, like it's pretty hard to just go up to some random person, introduce yourself, like they know people that you don't know who the fuck they are.
And again, it's not like freshman year. Like freshman year, you're thrown into this orientation, and pretty much nobody knows anybody. And like we're thrown into the senior year class, which is what could be like probably the tightest class at the school, right? Because they've been together the longest, and now we don't know anybody. So it's harder to like jump into that compared to jumping into like a freshman or sophomore year when people aren't as close.
Yeah, I never thought about it from that perspective, because I know I see like the freshmen coming in, the sophomores coming in, there's like that sense of excitement, that sense of novelty that you're coming in this place. There's hundreds of kids here you're about to meet. And I remember like feeling that same sense of excitement like when I first came here, and like we spend so much of your day just like trying to find new people, trying to socialize, trying to go out and do these things with people. But if I think about like how this year started, it's kind of just I'm back in the zone, just doing my thing. Like I know the type of people I have in my life. This is what I do. So what time I wake up. This is what classes I go to. So it's like I kind of just go back in the mix and everything's the same. Mm-hmm. But I guess from your guys' perspective, is like I guess there is that sense of novelty with the PGs, but I know in the past I've not seen the PG class as integrated with the senior class as it has been this year.
Really?
I think it helps that we're a bigger group too. Like if it's hard to move around as like an 18-person group. I know that a lot of the times postgrads are probably going into 9 guys or 9 postgrads, and this year we have 18. So that's a big jump in how many people we have. So I think that helps. The bigger group size probably forces us to interact with more people than just ourselves.
Yeah, because I know in the past it's like there's a 9-10 group of people. They just hang out with each other and like barely talk to any of the seniors. Like, that's always like the thing. There's always that one Maribel table. The whole thing is one friend group. To me, like this year is kind of surprising because like there's multiple friend groups within the big like PG friend group. They're integrated with the seniors, so it's definitely very different this year.
And I would say like we're not really that cliquey. Like everyone in the dorm just fucks with everyone in the dorm. Like it's a great group of guys and like we have fun or whatever. But like I don't know, I don't really mind sitting with some random kid or whatever during lunch, or just like sitting with seniors who I know. Like I would probably rather sit with kids that I know than kids that I don't, just because like it's easier to do. But like yeah, I don't know. I enjoy meeting new kids, like hanging out with the same group of whatever it is, 18 kids every day. Like eventually that's gonna get old. So like getting to know other kids is nice.
I mean, it helps that we can't all fit around one table at lunch or dinner too. Like it actually forces us to spread out. Like we fit 10 people around.
Yeah.
So there has to be at least 2 tables. And
Now,
we end up splitting off. So.
Do you think Peddie lives up to your expectations, at least what people have told you about in the past, like what you were expecting to do when you came here? Do you think it kind of lives up to that, or?
Yeah, I think it lives up to it. I think it does probably a better job than most schools do living up to their expectation of kind of what they set out and what they're trying to do. I think they're pretty honest, especially like what the kids said, especially on like revisit day. They were honest about everything. They're like, the food's kind of some days it's good. They're like, they made a good meal for you to come here today. That's why it tastes good. It's never.
What'd you guys have when you came?
It was just chicken, but it was cooked well, and there was like good bread and everything.
Yeah.
And that was at lunch. Like, I haven't seen bread at lunch in a minute, but you know, I didn't feel like they tried to like deceive us. I feel like some schools kind of like really prop things up, and then.
It's kind of interesting. I don't think I knew much about Peddie like when I showed up on campus to come here. I'm not gonna lie. Like I guess I remember me and Jackson were talking. He was like, "Yeah, this is like one of the top ranked schools in New Jersey." And I was like, "What?" Like it is. Like I don't think that wasn't made clear to me when I was applying. Like I think Mr. Trees just kind of supported my application and kind of just got me in. The essays that I wrote were not very strong. I guess I had like solid grades or whatever, but like I didn't really know like what it was going to be like at all. And I would say that like in like my math and science classes, and I guess those are the 2 hardest classes that I'm taking, like those kids are really, really smart. And then in some of the other classes I'm taking, there are kids who I don't think are very smart, which kind of surprised me too, because it was like, I guess my expectation, knowing how like prestigious of a school it was or whatever, was that like everyone would be like the kids in multi, right, who are like just really, really smart. And then like I'll be sitting through like history class and be like, damn, like low-key, that kid's a dumbass. Like,
yeah. I mean, I think kids also change too. I mean, most of the kids who got in here as like 8th graders were pretty elite 8th grade students. Not everybody, but most of them were like elite 8th graders. And then, I mean, everybody changes. Some kids just start not liking school. I mean, I definitely stopped liking school probably sophomore year. Doesn't mean that I don't do the work, but like I know people change and what kind of their developmental trajectory as students changes. So I think as a group we're like, if you did put like an IQ test on the school, we'd do pretty well. But as far as students go, sometimes kids change their direction. But compared to like an average high school, like, it is pretty good.
What would you say your kind of high school development looks like? If you compare yourself to you as a freshman, do you think like your high school has done like a pretty good job of like shaping you into a different person? Or?
I think so. I was a pretty shy freshman. I didn't like talking to people, and that was something that I think has changed. Like being more outgoing, being like comfortable, and like just sharing what I'm thinking and trying to be a little bit.
It's interesting that you think it's changed.
I mean, just generally speaking, for the most part, I mean, on like if we're just doing like a big sample size, there's an outlier or two, but you know, generally, I think we're pretty like that. That changed a lot.
And you want the fact check though.
Well, the fact.
I don't see a fact check.
I
I see Jerry out there fact check.
I changed a lot since my freshman year. I wouldn't necessarily say that was because of the school that I went to. I'd say it's more so the people that I kind of hung out with.
Yeah, part of it's just growing up too.
Yeah, obviously. But just like I, outside of school, like I had a group of friends, and then I was either there or like baseball. So I kind of had like 2 sets of people that I would hang out with, and I would say like a lot of the maturing I did was like directly from baseball, and like especially like a lot of the time I was playing up like multiple years, practicing with guys who were like already sophomore, juniors, seniors in college, and like me being whatever it was, about 15 years old, training with those guys and seeing how they move and how they think and how they carry themselves definitely like affected my growth throughout high school.
So both of you kind of see like yourself, maybe starting off with like this shy range, meeting more and more people over time. Meeting more and more people over time is kind of like spending time with those people as shaping to it's more like outgoing person or like.
Yeah, for sure. I think as you said, like being around older people is probably the best thing you can like do. If you really want to see some sort of development in anything, you have to put yourself in a group of people that is ahead of where you're at. So I think that just like from a social perspective, especially in baseball, like, when you play up, you learn how to carry yourself differently. You see how people interact with each other. And I think that's important. Like, if you go to a 14U baseball game, you're going to see some crazy things. You're going to see like a lot of immaturity, a lot of like inconsistency, like reaction to failure, all those kind of things. And then when you go up and you play with people who are older than you see like way less of that. You're forced to develop in that way. And I think that really makes a big difference.
But I guess it's not only this piece that they're older, but I guess they're more mature. Like,
yeah,
I guess surrounding yourself with like a group of people that are positive or people that you want to emulate.
Exactly.
I guess like as Leo was saying, that the fact that he spent time with these group of people made him this person, right? So it's kind of like this idea that your environment plays a huge role in like shaping you, making you this piece of clay. So I don't know, like have you like kind of stick with like a similar type of people like throughout your high school career? You feel like you've changed like the environment you've been in throughout? Does that kind of change you as a person as well?
I think it changes naturally. I think a lot of the people that I was friends with freshman year are still my friends to some degree, right? And when I say some degree, I mean they're like still good friends, but not exactly like the main group of people that I would hang out with. Some of them are, some of them aren't. I think really what changes is kind of like as your goals and aspirations change, the people that you hang out with or that you're working to get better on something with are becoming people that you're closer with. And I think that that's kind of like, for me, as like Leo said, like a lot of my, like about himself, a lot of the people that I'm closest with were baseball players who were trying to get to the same place that I was trying to get to. And those, or some of the students that were trying to get to the same place that I was trying to get to. And those were like the people that I resonated the most with. I think just because we had the same goals and aspirations, we had the same kind of path that we were on that brought us together. I think like a lot of the value of the prep school environment is there's a lot of people, they always like talk about diversity and having like different viewpoints, but I think the reality is that a lot of the people here are very like-minded and wanting to do something with their life that's better and greater than what they were given. And I think that that is like probably like 80% of the value of prep school. It's just being or surrounded by people who care.
Yeah, I think I had that same kind of mindset as you for a while. On Nolan's podcast, he actually brought this very interesting point that you don't necessarily have to surround yourself with people who want the same goals as you. Like, for example, 5 people who all want to become baseball stars come together and they kind of use that as a uniting fuel. But you really want to unite yourself with anyone who has like the same type of energy or like the same type of emotion that you have, right? Like if I'm really, really passionate about pursuing this thing, you're really, really passionate about pursuing that thing, even though they're different things. The fact that we both want to pursue something can bring us together. And the fact that like maybe I'm sad about like my mom's death, or maybe someone's sad about like their girl broke up with them. I guess that the fact that they're both sad can kind of bring them together. Like you don't necessarily need someone who has the exact same goal as you, but I guess same kind of emotional state of mind as you as well.
You know, that makes sense, and that's definitely true. Like a lot of my friends were athletes, but they weren't all baseball players. But a lot of us were driven like in the same kind of way, and that made a big difference bringing us together. And I think that's what brings not only where we live, but as postgrads, like we all kind of have the same goals. Like we're all here to play a sport, get better in our sport, and try and move on to college, kind of in like the same fashion. And I think that helps bring us closer together. We all kind of push each other, but then also as friends, we get pretty close.
I mean, yeah, I kind of completely agree with what you said. Like, going back to the original question about who I'm surrounding myself with, like, I mean, Jackson can tell you, I'm pretty much calling at least one of my friends from back home every day, if not more. So, like, that group of kids definitely kind of made me who I am. So I obviously want to stay in contact with them, keep in touch with them. But I mean, yeah, like, having that thing where you guys kind of have not necessarily like a common goal, like kind of the same thing that Nolan was talking about, where like you could have different goals, but as long as you're both, I guess, like driven to achieve those goals, like that's something that you have in common, right? Like lifting with somebody, whatever, right? Like we play different sports, but if we were to go to the gym together, we're both going to be equally like ready to get after it, right? And that's kind of something that you want and something that you're lifting with. So,
Do you ever find it challenging to stay in touch with these friends? Like, I sometimes feel that like people that have graduated from Peddie in the past, or people that I've known in the past, like I always find it harder to stay in touch with people. I don't know if that's because maybe our relationship wasn't as strong or not, but like, do you feel like you find some of those similar challenges in trying to stay in touch with these people, or how do you kind of overcome these challenges?
It is definitely like hard. Like it's just like everyone's living their own life, you know. Like I'm here, other kids are at whatever college you're at or whatever. But like, it's definitely like the two of you, if you are like really friends, you guys definitely both want to stay in contact with each other. It's just a matter of like actually doing it. So like, I know for me, like even if it was some kid that I hadn't spoken to, like we'll call it 2 weeks or whatever, right? Like if I see that he's calling me, I'm never gonna be like, oh, like fuck, like this random kid's calling me, right? Like I'll pick up and be like, yo, like what's up? I'm trying to stay in contact with that kid. So it's really just a matter of like send them like, yo, bro, how you doing? Text and like just have a conversation with whoever it is that you want to stay in contact with. Like, if you're willing to do that, then it's pretty easy.
I'm lazy. I mean, I try to stay in contact with people, but realistically, I am a little bit lazy reaching out to people. I kind of always have been.
Yeah.
So from time to time, I do reach out to pretty much all the people I want to stay in contact with. But I definitely could do a better job, and that's something that I probably do want to do, and something I have to do.
Yeah, I think it definitely takes work. I know there are periods in the summer where I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna try and stay in touch with these people. I'll call them every day, something like that. And then I go through periods where I'm like, shit, it's been a month and I'm not talking to like any of my old friends, and it's like, I think I feel like I'm kind of agree with Jackson. It takes a lot of work, so it's easy to fall into that zone of laziness. I mean, something I've been recently trying to do is that if I just remember someone, I try to just text them, right? I think if you could text someone every time you think about them, like from someone you've seen in the past, like that can kind of be a good indicator of like, okay, like whether this person is like worthy of your time. Like there's so many people you talk to, it's hard to stay in touch with everyone, but I guess be able to come to your mind every now and then, it's good to just shoot them a text, see how they're doing. Like, remember like one of my friends that graduated last year, I was reading like the Peddie Amphion, like in English class, I was just sitting there, and I just saw one of his old stories, so I just texted him, I started a story today. But yeah, we touched back in with him. But yeah, I think it's definitely a challenge, it's definitely hard. But how do you kind of dictate, when you have so many people you've kind of talked to in the past, how do you dictate like what are the relationships you want to keep holding forward? Like what does that even look like to you? Like do you want to still be meeting with these people in the future and things like that?
I mean, I think for me, don't make it sound like cold, but it's who brings value. It's like what I want to do. And value can be a guy who's really funny. Like if somebody's really fun to hang out with, like that's value. We need people who are fun to hang out with. There are some people who are really, really bright and have these trajectories that seem like they're like way above what I think I'm going to do. And those are also people that like I want to stay close with. Like, people who are going to be in a position to push me and make me a better person. And obviously there are some people who you just have gone through so much with that you feel like you have to stay close with them because you share this common ground that's probably not going away. So I think that those are kind of like the three things that keep me like going back and forth in relationships with people. Like, if there are people that I feel like my life would not be as good without, and those are the people that like when you're like walking like and you see something and you think about something and you think about that person, like those people, like you said, those are the people that you want to stay in contact with.
Yeah. So this idea of like, even if people you have in your life right now, but the idea of like an ideal friendship is someone that kind of provides you some kind of value in some way, makes your life better with them being in your life, or helps you to achieve your goal more by him being in your life, by whatever value he's providing. Like, is that what you kind of define as like your ideal friendship? Or?
Yeah, and again, that sounds like cold and like
disagree with that.
It sounds cold, but again, like when I say that value can be like somebody who's really funny, or somebody who's really fun to be around, or somebody who's really interesting. Like I think when you think about each one of your friends, you're like, you can make it be married.
I see what you're saying.
Like,
I see what you're saying.
Obviously, it's a human relationship. We're not trying to like quantify how much the friendship means to us, but at the end of the day, why we become friends with them has something to do with why we associate ourselves with them in the first place.
What would you define as your ideal friendship?
I don't know about all that. I know that like
ideal friendship.
When I'm going back to, I try to go back to the city as often as I can, just because like on campus weekends are pretty ass.
Hate on campus.
Like whenever I do go back, like I make it a point of like I'm going to see somebody, like whether it's like some random, like a lot of my friends are in college right now, so like when they're back, then I'll go see them. So I've seen them like twice from when I've gone back home while I've been here. Or if it's not that, then it's like seeing an old baseball coach who I used to work out with, and I'm just gonna go say what's up. Or like sending a text to kids that I worked with who are now like juniors or seniors in high school, and like, yo, let's go get some work in. Like, I'm back in the city, and it's like just maintaining stuff like that. Not necessarily like kids who bring you value. It's just like people that you enjoy being around. Like,
Again, that's value.
That is value.
like I guess I don't know. I don't really look at it.
Maybe it's just the way the wording that.
Like I don't really look at it as like, oh, this person is bringing me something that like benefits my life. I just look at it as like, I love hanging out with this kid. And like, if I have the opportunity to do that, like, I'm going to make sure that I take advantage of
I
that.
see what you mean. I think we're basically like, I think we're all trying to say the same thing here.
Yeah,
like we all see. I guess it's just different ways of looking at it. Because I think the idea of him bringing me value is like the wording.
Yeah, the wording is terrible.
Jackson, you just got away with words, man.
No,
but honestly, I've always
biggest
seen friendships in this way as well. Like, I feel like the strongest friendship is like one where we're both kind of looking at the same goal or the same type of pursuit for some kind of goal together. I think that's definitely what brings like guys together as a whole. I think if we just look at like how we evolved to live, like for all of our history, men have like gone out and done missions together, like whether it's hunting a woolly mammoth or whatever, you know. But I guess that's kind of what's always tied us together, like pursuit of some kind of mission. So it makes sense that the strongest relationships you build in your life are usually people that you kind of work on some kind of goal with, whether it's a sport. Like I see that in wrestling a lot.
Yeah.
Whether it's like pursuing any kind of like meaningful thing that brings you value, and then like in that way, like first of all, like you both are pursuing the same thing, but also the piece that in some way you both are helping each other get better in some way. I think maybe value might not be the right word for everyone, but in some way you being together means you both are better than like if you guys are not together, right? That I might be a wrestler, you might be a baseball player, but the fact that we come together and help each other become better in that way can provide value. Or even if I'm just like not doing anything with my life, but I'm a funny guy and that brings you value. I think looking at friendships in a transactional way is not always a bad thing. I see the point you're trying to make here with that as well.
I'm not trying to say it's transactional. I'm just trying to quantify or communicate in some way why someone would
put in words. Yeah.
Be a friend to me. Normally something just clicks. That's the best way to describe it. Like you're like around somebody it clicks, but that would not exactly be like the scientific reason for why we're friends.
Yeah, makes sense. So besides friendships, what do you guys feel like are some of the biggest life lessons you've had so far? It's a very broad question, but
Very broad.
Listen, you can't get any better by like teaching people. You have to be able to like take in information. I think that like just like small example, like me and Leo hit together and we have different philosophies on hitting. But when we combine them together, we've both become better hitters in this short time right here. Like just our swings have gotten better. The way we approach it has gotten better. Like, you can take two things, and as long as you listen to them and take them in, like you can make them better. But if you're just like closed off and just like teaching, and when I say teaching, I probably mean more preaching and like kind of just putting out and not taking in, you can't improve.
So you kind of need to be able to absorb information to improve yourself, like from external sources. Is that like?
Yeah, and I think that absorption is way more important than people think. I think people like to be in a position where they're comfortable.
Okay.
And when you're in a position that you're comfortable, you're not going to be able to take in the information you need in order to get better as a person, as an athlete, as a student, whatever you're trying to do better.
So I guess the biggest challenge you're saying people have is that this idea of like getting information to me that might help me improve, I might see that as like uncomfortable because It's in some way making me feel maybe insecure about myself, or maybe that like, okay, I'm not like really good at baseball because he said I'm like bad at this thing, for example. But I guess you're saying that a really important skill for people to have is that the ability to take criticism, maybe like the ability to absorb that kind of information.
Not even criticism, but as you said, being okay with being a little insecure. I think there's a level of confidence you have to have as a person to be able to succeed at what you're doing. But at the same time, you have to be really, like, I guess, humble and realize that there are a bunch of people out there, or not a bunch of people, but there are people out there who are a lot better at what I want to do than I am, or better at a part of it, and I need to be able to observe them and listen to them and hear what's happening and see what's happening so I can get better at what I'm better at. And I think that that's probably one of the most important things. that I've learned kind of going through high school and trying to develop as a baseball player.
I mean, I would say that, like, obviously, like, listening and hearing it, but like an entirely new skill on top of that is like hearing it, but also knowing that, like, you have to have confidence in like what you know, right? Like, if I'm a hitter and some random coach comes up to me and is like, hey, like, oh, you're twisting your leg, or like whatever, something stupid. Like, you got to be able to listen to that, but then like filter it into like box A and box B. And box A can be like, okay, this is generally helpful information, let me listen to it. Box B can be like no, like, I know myself, and like, I know that this is contrary to things that I want to.
It's a hard thing to find that balance, because I think there's going to be so many forces in your life telling you this is what you should be doing, this is what you should be doing. And if you follow everyone's advice, you're basically following no one's advice, because they're all over the place, right?
Exactly.
Like, my dad's going to say one thing, my coach is going to say one thing, my friend's going to say one thing. So really this idea of like, whose advice do you really take?
Yeah.
And I think I struggled with this before, because I'd always see like either my parents or someone always telling me I need to live in this certain kind of way. But I learned like one of the best ways to be able to filter out information is look at who is the person giving me this advice. Is that someone I respect? And is that someone, if I had his life right now, would I be happy in that life, right? And even, it doesn't have to be as a whole, it can even be in that skill, right? Like, if your baseball coach is very good at baseball and he's giving you advice, maybe the fact that I want his ability or his skill means that maybe taking his advice might help me, right? If it's someone who I know kind of sucks, maybe taking his advice might not help me in that, right?
Totally agree. I think that, again, if you're surrounding yourself with people who you respect and who you think are going to make you better, then you can comfortably listen to what they have to say. And then your improvement and your progress is going to be natural. I don't think sometimes you have to force it. Sometimes you have to put yourself in a position that's really uncomfortable. I mean, I'm not doing so well in physics right now, but I think physics, just like in the school environment, is a good example of where I'm not that good at it, but I'm around people and in an environment that I'm learning way more. I think I'm learning way more in physics class than I am in some of my other classes, because the gap between my current understanding and where I want to be and where all the other people are is so much greater. So I think that is pulling me up at a more rapid rate than I would in some of my other classes where it's a slower take before I learned it.
Now, another question I have is like, how does one develop the skill of being able to absorb like information, right? I think you mentioned before that it's one of the biggest transformations you've had is that you went from someone who might have felt kind of uncomfortable with receiving information before to now being able to kind of receive that information to improve yourself. How do you think one kind of develops that skill to see themselves at a place?
I think it's time. I think it's just doing. The more you do something, the better you're going to be at it. And I think that as human beings, we have to be in settings like that more often to get better at it. I think you can sit on your couch and play video games and do all that, and you're going to be happy. You'll feel like comfortable and satisfied with what you're doing. But I think in order to get better at that skill of like listening and absorbing, you just have to be in a situation to do it. You can't like train it. There's no like practice for it. It's more of you thrown into the fire and you have to figure out how to do it. I know like what you said about like a random coach. Like there have been times where I go and work with a hitting coach and like, especially when I was younger and I got worse. Like I was doing something that did not work and I just was like, I'm going to do what he says, and it didn't work. But I think as you get older, you like learn to take everything with a grain of salt, but also appreciate what is being said and how that method is used.
Yeah.
And I think that's just something that only comes with time. Would you agree with that, Leo?
Yeah, like I like to say I'm my own hitting coach. Like I don't really work with any hitting coach. Like, I kind of just like to figure it out. Like that pursuit of knowledge. Like someone can help you or hurt you, and you just gotta be able to think. Like it's kind of trusting yourself, honestly. Like just because you hear something doesn't mean it's right. Like kind of take it, absorb it, and then analyze it.
Yeah, but I think it's important to absorb it before you analyze it. Because if you're closed off and you analyze it and then kick it out, then at some point maybe you need that information. Maybe there's a little part of it that you didn't absorb that will actually make a difference. And I think that a lot of like successes as a person, and socially, all these things come from having a data set in your mind of like what's happening and how you're going to process that, what prior experiences are going to drive that. And I just think you don't have to apply everything, but you should try and absorb everything.
I see. Another thing is, another life lesson I think that you mentioned to me before, like when we were walking back from the lawn yesterday, you said enjoy it while it lasts. It seemed like a pretty big one for you, so we'll talk more about that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I just like to think back, like knowing, like I've already graduated high school, right? So like I've sat through the classes this semester, and like everyone is sitting down, like stressing, finishing up their common apps, and then like some kids will get an ED1 and they'll start slacking off like crazy. Other kids will be stressing out of their mind because they didn't get in, whatever, their mom is losing their shit or whatever. And then like eventually it'll all work out, right? And you'll either go to, especially at a school like here, like, oh no, you didn't get into wherever, you didn't get into Cornell. Instead, it looks like now you're gonna have to go to Carnegie Mellon or whatever, right? And like, you didn't get into your top choice, you're still gonna go to a great school, like you can still be a successful person. Kind of just like, don't let like that ruin the experience for you. Because I definitely know like some kids were stressing like crazy, and they kind of forgot that like you had built such strong relationships over 3 years. Like after this, like I say, I was talking about, I like to stay in touch. Like it'll never be the same again with like those kids, right? Like you're spending every waking moment with them. Like you're going to lunch with them. Like you'll never have experience like a group of friends like that you can really make again, because like high school, the class sizes are so small, right? Like I guess it depends where you go, but like you kind of create that friend group, and it's like those are the people that you're hanging out with. In college, it's a lot harder, right? Because you don't really know anyone anymore, and you kind of have to like reset. It's like those friendships and like the times that you've had with those people, like it's kind of like irreplaceable. So like, don't let this year kind of pass you by because you're so stressed about college, or you think like you're on a clock now, and like this is literally the last year, right? Like I remember sitting there thinking like we'd be sitting through like physics class, right? And physics at my old school was way easier, especially second semester compared to what it is here. So like we would kind of just fuck around in class, right? And I had a really good group of friends in that class. And I remember like the bell rang, and like I was like, wow, like that's the last physics class that I'll ever be sitting next to my boys in. And like I couldn't even process it. I was like, damn, like how did that just happen? And I remember like the last like PE class, like we have, I know you guys don't have gym class here, but like we had like gym class where we would just like play basketball or whatever. And like that last gym class was so sad, because it was like, damn, like I've been doing that for 4 years, and like when's the next time I'll be able to just play floor hockey with my boys again? Like that'll never be a thing that you can really do.
Yeah. Do you think that stress piece you were talking about, that everyone spends all their time kind of stressed about what school they're going to get into, what my grade looks like? Do you think that stress, in a way, makes the time go by faster, and then all of a sudden it's over? Like, do you think that stress is kind of connected with this idea that you're there at your last class, and it's like, holy shit, where'd all the time go?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I would say my experience with the stress was definitely different than like the vast majority of other students, just because like while they were stressing about like their Common App essay or whatever, I didn't even know what schools I was applying to, just because of like the whole recruitment process and stuff like that. So for me, it was like, okay, I'm stressed about my baseball performance. And for me, it was like, oh, like the physics bell just rang, great, I got to get out of here and go to the weight room because I need to get stronger, and then I need to run sprints. And like, that was the entire thing going through my mind. And like I even remember like my friends were like, yo, like, what are you doing later? Like, come through, like, let's go to this kid's house. And I'm like, I can't, like, I need to get better. And like, that was what my life was kind of circulating around, which at the same time, I think is like part of the time beneficial. Like my mindset is like, the habits that you have kind of need to reflect like your goal, right? So like if your goal is play college baseball, you can't just go fuck around, right? You like actually need to go out and like get better, and like no one can do that for you. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like don't let those habits ruin your life, right? Like for me, like that I would say that almost like happened. Like I was so stressed about like I don't know where I'm going to play, and I can't imagine myself not playing. Like that almost took away from the experience that I would have had with my friends, especially in that last year, because like second semester senior year is a fun time. Like that is a time where like, at least I don't know about here, but like teachers will let up, like they'll know what you're doing, like you'll be able to kick back, and like that time is something that you never really experience anything like it again, like after it goes by, because like, once you graduate college, it's not like you can start kicking back, right? Like then you gotta go get a fucking job, right? Support yourself, like just that little grace period of time where it's like, okay, I just grinded, like let me enjoy it, like make sure you enjoy it.
Yeah, I think that piece you mentioned about like how your whole life was kind of surrounded by the purpose of being a career for baseball. So your habits reflected that, right?
Yeah.
I think I've also struggled with the idea of like, okay, I want to discipline my life so that it's aligned with my core purpose. But at the same time, I don't want to sacrifice too much of my quality of life in that way, right? But I think a recent learning I've had probably in the last month is that certain things like, okay, to fulfill my purpose, I might want to be like sleeping at this time every single day. I might want to be spending my hours doing this, right? But I think there are elements such as like social connection which can help you to achieve that purpose to an even better degree, right? Like if my entire life was dedicated toward maybe like a purpose of like becoming very healthy, becoming like making sure that all my habits in there are supporting me becoming a healthy person, making sure I wrestle really well, making sure that I'm able to like pursue maybe like a career that I want to pursue. I think having like times where you kind of allow yourself to slack off, like having times where you just have good times with your friends, like having those periods of time can actually like improve your mental health to the point where it's like you actually do a better job at fulfilling that purpose in the first place, right? Like I think it's definitely really fun to like have everything in your life aligned with that purpose, right? Because you start to see that progress go all the way up.
Yeah.
But there are definitely times where like when your life quality dips so low, where it's like you're not even making as much progress by the amount of sacrifice you're making. So it's like really about this idea of balancing like how much do you sacrifice, but you don't want to be like eliminating the quality of life at the same time, because quality of life helps you to achieve that as well.
I mean, I always think it's about priorities. Like, if you really do prioritize like your development in baseball, you have to have like the maturity kind of like assess, okay, like how do I actually get better? Like, is doing nothing but playing baseball really going to get you that much better, or like do you need an escape from that so that you can actually improve and like when you're training really like hone in on that, right? Because I know for me, like there were times where I was like, okay, like I'm going to hit 7 days a week, 2 hours a day, and like just get after it. And like for the first week or so, I saw crazy improvement, but then the burnout is like it's almost taking away from like your development as a player and like taking the time to just like kick back and like catch up on sleep or hang out with your friends or whatever, like whatever your like priorities are, whatever that list is, even if it's like catch up on homework because that's like kind of weighing you down, you got a C- in physics or whatever, right? Like taking the time to like fix that can actually, I also but like taking the time to fix that can help you out in the other aspects of your life.
Yeah, I mean, I know for me, especially like junior year, it was not exactly the healthiest like combination. I was doing that 7 days a week, 5 a.m. wake-ups. And I think the biggest change for me moving into this year, starting probably in the spring of last year, was saying I'm going to take Sunday off. I kind of always believed that like life's going to create the rest days before, but realistically, if you're trying to be disciplined to the point where you're doing what you have to do every day, and you tell yourself you're going to do it 7 days a week, you're going to keep doing it. But as you said, you get to your last 25 reps, and you start to go through the motions, or you don't want to put in the same output in the weight room. You're tired. You're not going to go try and lift up whatever you're supposed to lift. You're going to put 20 less pounds on, and you're going to kind of plateau. I think that like for me, taking a day off every once in a while helps to keep me like really excited about doing it. And I know like hitting's a good example. Like, when I don't hit on Sunday, like I'm really excited to hit on Monday.
Yeah.
And same thing, like if I'm not in the weight room on Sunday, I'm really excited to go lift in and try and be better on Monday. Mm-hmm. And I do think it's important to rest. My mom always told me like find balance. I was like, we're not doing that. We're just gonna keep doing this. We're gonna go 100% until the sun goes down, and then we're gonna keep going 100% until we pass out, and we're gonna wake up the next morning and do it again. But I think that finding balance really helps you, like, as you said, output more. It's like, we took economics last year, and we learned about, like, cost-benefit analysis. And like, basic things. Like, it kind of makes...
finance, bro, man.
It makes sense, to, like, when you're putting in, like, diminishing margin of returns, at some point you're doing more that is efficient. And being efficient and being motivated at the same time are going to give you way better results than just like grinding.
Yeah.
And I do agree that doing it every day is a good thing. But when you say do it every day, does that mean 365 days a year? Does that mean you take off 52 Sundays and you feel a lot better and you're way more productive?
I think that we all have like a place that I'll call our edge, right? Our edge is like our limit, or like the place that we want to be most of the time, where it's like just that perfect degree of like uncomfortability, but it's right where we want to be to grow, right?
Exactly.
A lot of people hold back from that edge mainly because of insecurity, right? They're kind of scared of the edge. They're scared to push themselves too hard, and so they kind of hold back from that edge, right? But another problem people have is that they go beyond that, right? And it also comes from insecurity, right? Just how people are too insecure to be able to push themselves that hard. Some people are so insecure that they'll push themselves too hard, right? They'll start sacrificing things in their life because they think that I need to do this in order to be great, right? But I think instead of like holding back from your edge, trying to push yourself beyond that edge, you really want to find out where that edge is and just live there, right? And not sacrifice like the critical pieces of your life. Like if you're sacrificing your sleep for pursuit of your goal, that's kind of like counterproductive, right? Because sleep will feel like gold more than like the extra hour of night, you know? If you're sacrificing
physics, you like to study until 4 a.m.
That's completely different because
social connections are a big one.
I'll explain why it's different, Jackson. It's different because if I had gone to bed at 12 o'clock and gotten 7.5 hours of sleep the day before my physics class, I would have gotten a 50% because I didn't know the material. So having sleep without knowing the material is also counterproductive, unfortunately.
No, I know what you mean. But you did know forces. In hindsight, that was all we studied.
Bullshit.
If you don't know absolutely anything, fine, stay up.
Stay
Otherwise, like,
That's
I don't
not
think it's right.
advice.
Because you know what sleep does for your memory? Like, you have a hippocampus, part of your brain, which stores short-term memories. Like, everything, like, what you're studying or having experiences during the day, it all gets stored in your short-term memory. Sleep is what transfers into your long-term memory.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a good night's sleep before you take a test, you will not remember anything you studied.
Yeah.
So in the general case, you want to get good sleep, but I mean, if you don't have anything, there's no point.
Right.
What are you going to remember?
That was me in Spanish class. I could never remember like conjugations or like certain words. So like the night before, it'd be like 1 a.m. and I'd be like staring at it, memorize it, and then
I would just cheat, bro. Don't lie.
I can respect that. But like if you can cheat and not get caught, that's impressive.
Depends what your goals are. I mean, if your goal is just to get through it, and if something else you want to do, like.
Well, I like Spanish class. No hate Spanish class, but
You're trying to get through it, just like.
Spanish class is a perfect example of a class that you're trying to get through. It's a little bit of busy work. It's a requirement. Like, you know, do it, you're not going to graduate, but it's not something you really need unless you obviously plan to go do something that's international.
I don't think we should talk about cheating on here. I'm not gonna lie. So
It's fine, dude. I graduated already. We're good.
I have. I got homeless.
You didn't implicate
No,
yourself.
I've never cheated.
Me neither.
So I have this interesting quote in front of me that I found a little bit while back, but it really connected to like a part of my life. So I'm gonna read it out. I know you were struggling to read it because of my handwriting, so it's gonna be a surprise for you guys. All right, it's about happiness. Ultimately, happiness comes down to choosing between the discomfort of becoming aware of your mental afflictions or the discomfort of being ruled by them.
My eyes are down. Can you read it again?
Ultimately, happiness comes down to choosing between the discomfort of becoming aware of your mental afflictions or the discomfort of being ruled by them. Does that make sense? What do you make of that? Do you understand it?
I know. I mean, I think I understand it. I guess when I hear that, it just makes me feel like, what are you going to do? Is it I think happiness, as we said, is a balance, or at least I believe it's kind of a balance. And what that balance looks like, according to this quote, is like, are we going to build ourselves to be better, or are we going to let ourselves be comfortable with what we're not happy with, to the point that like we can still be happy? Like, if you're not happy about something and you work hard to fix it, you're going to feel better about it. But there's another sacrifice that you're going to make while you're working really hard to fix that thing that's probably going to make you feel tired, sad, maybe like grumpy, and that's also not going to make you happy. So like finding a balance between conquering what makes you not feel great and still feeling great is really important to being happy. I think happiness can also be like a state of mind. Like if you feel really happy from improving yourself, you're going to like feel gratified by the end result. But like if you feel really upset from the work, and maybe if you miss a little bit of sleep, like you're not gonna feel good about that.
Yeah, it's definitely, that's the main crux of it. But another piece of it is that ignorance is bliss, right? I think I've gone through a couple like I guess like mental revolutions in like in my last like year or so of my life, but I think one of the major ones is like with sleep. Because in March, April-ish, I decided that like, I think I was like watching some video or reading some book, and I learned that you can actually improve the quality of your sleep, right? So not just like the quantity of your sleep, like obviously getting 8 hours is good, but I learned there's things I can do to improve the quality of my sleep, right? Like things tied to your circadian rhythm, things tied to like how you eat your meals, things tied to like getting sunlight, things like that can affect your sleep quality. And I learned that when I implemented all this into my life, my sleep quality like drastically increased, right? And the changes in my life for the month and 2 months that followed from that was like insane. I think when I went out to go wrestle, like I felt like so much better there. When I went out to do my schoolwork, and just every minute of the day was so much more fulfilling just because I got that good amount of sleep, right? So it's like I became aware of that mental affliction that, okay, my decisions in the past about how I slept were kind of holding me in this disposition for so long. But then it was like I was kind of stuck in the fact that I had to keep doing these protocols to get a good sleep. And if I didn't do them, I would feel the difference in the day, and I'd feel like shit, right? Like over the summer, my family and I, we were up in Maine, we were in Katy National Park, and I missed on my sleep schedule for a little bit, right? I was sleeping a little later, we were out having dinner, and as a result of like me mixing up my schedule a little bit, I felt the immediate effects of that, and I just felt like shit the whole day, right?
Yeah.
And then my parents would tell me like, we're sleeping the same as you are, you're overthinking it, like and my mom would tell me like when she was growing up, she never used to overthink the fact that am I getting good sleep, she would just get good sleep. Right? So she's basically like saying that I'm overthinking the fact that whether or not I'm getting good sleep, and that's why I'm not getting good sleep, right? So I guess this idea that if you're ignorant about it, it's blissful because you never knew in the first place that there was this other life possible, right? Just not even thinking about it means you're in bliss, right? But I think that piece of like ignorance to bliss comes from the fact that you just get used to this position. Like the fact that I never did these in the past but still felt fine is because I guess I just got used to feeling this way. You kind of get used to that, but now it's like, now that you're aware of that, it's so hard to go back just because now you know the difference. Now you know what's possible. It's like you can't really go back to like, being like normal per se, like living like that. Right. Now that you're not ignorant anymore. But yeah, that's why I see it like that.
Then once you start to feel like, I guess once you identify that you're being complacent, and like once you figure out that there's something more and you're like letting yourself be comfortable with it, at least for me, that makes me not feel like very good. I feel like you can be comfortable but not complacent, but it's hard to be complacent and comfortable at the same time. At least for me, I feel very uncomfortable with myself as a person, as an individual, when I'm not doing something that I know I can fix and make myself a little bit better. But as you said, like, if you are not doing something, or you weren't doing something and you didn't know it wasn't affecting you, you don't feel bad when you miss it. Like, when I was a freshman and sophomore, I really didn't lift that much. And like, I didn't care that I was missing workouts, but now if I miss a workout, like, I don't feel good. I know I have to go back and make it up at some point. I'm gonna have to add a little bit more to each workout or get an extra day in or something. Like that's something that realizing how much something can make you better when you miss it, it's a withdrawal. You're losing something that you know makes you feel good.
So you mentioned that you can be comfortable but not complacent. What do you say is the difference between being comfortable and being complacent?
I think being comfortable is as like we've talked about the state of balance and the state of happiness. Like you don't have to feel like aggravated by the circumstances you're in to not be complacent. But I think that's more of a personal statement. I'm sure it applies to a bunch of other people out there. But for me, I cannot be comfortable with myself. It's not like a physical comfort. It's more of a mental comfort. I can't be mentally comfortable with what I'm doing if I'm not making an effort to move forward. And it's probably not the best trait because I can't when I take these off, I don't exactly feel the best. Because I like resting on Sunday because I know it makes me better on Monday, but I don't like that I feel like I'm not getting better on Sunday. And I think that it's dangerous not to be able to appreciate those moments like that. I've put in a lot, so when I was a junior in high school, I had never hit a home run on a big field. And that's like kind of like a slacking achievement. But that was something that really bothered me. And then, I kept working, and I guess like a couple games into my senior season, I hit my first home run. And I didn't really appreciate it. I was like, nah, I gotta hit another one. And there was no like appreciation for that, like, I guess, like, I couldn't be happy just hitting one. I have to hit more, and I have to hit more, and I have to hit more. And that's kind of how my mind works. I always have to do more. I can't just stay in the same spot.
Yeah.
But I can be comfortable and happy in the balance of what I'm doing. It doesn't have to be extreme, but I would not feel comfortable staying in the same
I see
spot.
what you mean. I think people fall in the zone a lot, right? This idea of that the mindless pursuit of more, mindless pursuit of just keep climbing up that mountain.
Exactly.
You don't really appreciate what's around you. I think people see that with the money a lot. They're always trying to make more and more money, but they're never like, they're always thinking what they 20 years from now when I finally make enough money, instead of just appreciating
Right.
money.
How much you got.
What do you think?
I mean, yeah, I remember when I was at Carlton, like a month ago now?
Yeah, it's probably a month.
Almost a month ago. And the coach made me, like, officially made me an offer. My mom asked me, like, that day, like, you didn't seem, like, that happy. Like, that's something you've been working for what, almost 4 years now. Like, you've been working your ass off. Like, every day you were getting better at baseball, every single day. Like, now this is a school that's, like, it's a very good school. Like, you're a solid fit for it academically, and, like, this is a great program for you. Like, why aren't you that happy? And I remember thinking, like, yeah, like, this is literally everything that I've been working for 4 years of my life. Like, I would put my life on hold. Like, during COVID, I'd wake up at 5 in the morning and go to the baseball field before there were people there, so I could go and get my work in. Like that's what I did for 4 years of my life. I was saying, like, but I'm still not ready to, like, call it quits. Like, just because I had, like, kind of achieved that goal, that doesn't mean that, like, I'm ready to stop. Like, I know that, like, given what I have in me, like, I could be way better of an athlete and of a player than what I currently am. Like, whether or not, like, no matter where I'm playing, I don't care if I'm playing at, like, a high academic Division III school, a Division I school, or, like, a fucking JUCO school, or wherever. Like, regardless of that, like, don't be satisfied with what you got. Like, keep working, but at the same time, like, be able to analyze, like look at how far I've come, right? Like, if you would have looked at me 4 years ago, you would have think, like, okay, like, this kid's got a ways to go if he wants to be a college athlete. And I feel like that's kind of how it is for the vast majority of college athletes. So, like, kind of be able to congratulate yourself, but also at the same time, like, understand, like, you got a way to go. Like you're not that special. You know, that's what I was telling myself. Like, yeah, like get over it. Like, you know how many people have college offers? Like, keep working. Like you're not done yet. You know.
No, I
It's
agree.
important. It's like you're not special.
Yeah.
It's important to, like, appreciate that everybody's, like, they have something that they're good at, but there are a bunch of people who are good at the same exact thing. And I think that it's important to, if you in any way you care about who you are as a person and how you're improving, I think it's important to let go of, like, your ego in a way. I think that ego is a good and a bad thing. Like, if you think you're, like, really special, you're awesome at something, it's going to give you a lot of confidence, but it's also going to hold you back on actually becoming great at what you want to do. Exactly.
I want to touch on that idea that the achievement didn't fulfill you as much, right? I think that's something people feel a lot because we're kind of blinded by the outcome. We think the outcome is why we're doing it, but there's a difference between process-oriented ambitions and outcome-oriented ambitions, right? I think in my own life, I think bulking was an outcome-driven ambition, right? Because the envisionment of, like, having a better aesthetic was something that really excited me, but the idea of bulking was actually
Trash, right?
Over the summers, like, when I'm bulking, I feel like shit. I'm eating all day, so I feel like shit all day. I feel tired all day, and I don't even enjoy it. Like, lifting shirts fun. I'd rather wrestle, but it burns too much calories. So I didn't wrestle in the summer. So I think for me, bulking was an outcome-driven ambition because I really wanted the outcome, but I hated, like, the process of actually doing it. But I think a lot of the things that we pursue are actually process-driven outcomes, right? Process-driven ambitions, right? Because you weren't doing baseball just to get a college offer. You're doing it because you fucking love going out and playing baseball every day. That's what made you happy, right? And I think if you can prioritize your process-driven ambition over your outcome-driven ambition as much as possible, that's going to bring you the most fulfillment because on a day-to-day basis, you're doing what you love, right? And I think that's why if you can try to figure out what process you love the most, like for me, when I'm wrestling, I don't care if I'm good or I'm a sub, I just love the process most. I feel like it frees me from all the day-to-day thoughts I have. It just puts me in the present moment, in that zone. I just love that feeling I get from there. Just like that, if you can keep finding, like, these process-driven ambitions you like in your life and then make that the goal, then sure, the achievement itself might not be as meaningful to you, but that's because the process itself is so meaningful, right? Like, just the idea of being in pursuit is what makes us happy, right?
Exactly.
Being in pursuit of achieving it. Like, sure, you achieve the first layer of your purpose, but that only reveals the next one. And shit, I gotta go get the next one.
Exactly.
Right? And you love that part. I think a little fulfilling life is always in pursuit of what you love.
I mean, I remember like there's a Kobe Bryant interview. He's talking about how he's never really scared if he's going to succeed or fail when he's playing in a game because he's like generally it doesn't really matter to him if he succeeds or fails because like regardless of what happens, he's going to learn and get better the next day. And it's like who cares about whatever the outcome of today is because like he'll be in the gym the next morning no matter what, and he'll be getting shots up, and he'll like learn from that experience, right? Like that's something that for me, like as I reflect, like I learned a ton about hitting. Like I would pretty much every day now after I hit, like I have notes on my phone and I just like write down like, okay, this is what I learned, this is what I like, this is what I didn't like. And like that almost goes back like a year and a half now. And like I can scroll through that and like generally I now know so much about that. And also just reflecting like the relationships and stuff like that I've built with people that like nobody really like wakes up in the morning and is like, okay, like I'm gonna go make my body feel like shit today. Like I'm gonna go hammer it. I'm hitting 405 pounds. I'm gonna pick it up and put it back down, right? And like no one, when you kind of look at it through that point of view, like that lens, like it seems pretty like shitty, right? Your body's gonna hurt until you go and do it again the next day. But like when you kind of look at it as like you're building this experience and like it's part of the process and like enjoy the process, like enjoy the people that you're doing it with and like learn, right? It's part of that like figuring out, like getting better every single day. Once you look at it through that lens, like you're right, it is literally all that matters is the process.
And I think it's important to fall in love with obsession. Like, I think that obsession is like often given like a negative connotation, and it does have a negative connotation. But I think that when you're obsessed with something and when you're obsessed with the process more than the result, if you're obsessed with the result, that's dangerous because then you're gonna feel required to do something, and then when you get there, you're gonna feel like you're entitled to it the whole time. But if you're obsessed with the process and obsessed with improvement and obsessed with enjoying that process, you're going to have a really good experience. And I think the results come naturally when you're obsessed with the process. Yeah. I think that when you're, as you're saying, you're going for an outcome, right? When you were bulking, you hated the process of bulking and you expected to get there. You felt entitled to it, like looking back at doing the bulk. So it's kind of a double whammy of like not loving the process and then not getting a reward from the outcome. Even when you look in the mirror and you say, all right, I look better, you're not going to be like, wow, I look better. You're going to be like, I should look better. And then you're going to like go chase another end goal rather than falling in love with the process. And along the way, they're like, wow, I've changed. And I wasn't expecting this because all I was trying to do is just be better. And I think that that's really fun.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. It's literally the same thing as like when me and Jackson, we have like a mini bat, and like we'll literally be taking dry swings like between our study sessions for like physics or whatever, and like we'll be breaking down what we're doing, and like it literally is a matter of like being obsessed with getting better. Like the process is the fun part. Like the outcome is just like you put your process to the test, right? And like I literally used to think like I enjoyed practicing baseball almost more than playing baseball, just because like I was that obsessed with like I'm gonna figure it out and I'm going to get better. And like I think that is what drives you to get better.
Right. And this is why school has started to get on my nerves because like I enjoy learning. I enjoy learning new things and taking in information, but the only thing that gets output out of that is these test grades. So the only thing that I'm focused on, because the test grades are realistically the essays that you put out are what is being scored, you end up focusing on like I have to study, I have to write the essay, I have to review, and it takes all the joy out of learning. And I think that more process-based education is something that we probably need to move towards. It's impossible to grade people based on how their process is, because everybody's process is different. If I'm grading somebody else's process, I mean, I don't like your process, it's wrong. My process is better. But I think that, like again, if you're obsessed with improvement and getting better at something, maybe you don't go as far as somebody else, but you feel the same level of satisfaction.
So we talked about this process-oriented ambition that you guys have with baseball, right? So there are periods of time where you're so locked into the baseball piece of it, where like your whole life is aligned to that purpose, right? You're waking up early, you're dedicating as much of your life to it as possible, and I think, at least from my own experience, I think those are the times you probably feel the most like happy and fulfilled because most of your life is kind of aligned to that purpose. I'm sure there are other times as well where you're not playing baseball, right? You might be on break, you might be doing something else. It might be a period of time, whether it's 2 days or 2 weeks or a month, where you're not able to play baseball. And I think the biggest challenge is there is that when your whole life is kind of aligned to this purpose, you kind of, that's where a lot of your joy comes from on a day-to-day basis, right? So do you ever feel like a lack of purpose when you find yourself in these periods where, let's say it's a 2-week period where you're not playing baseball, or you're not like really trying to achieve anything? Do you feel like that's a sense of emptiness or a sense of lack of purpose at this time? So describe that.
I would say no. I think if there's ever a situation that I'm not like doing something that I'm dedicated to, like to moving my main goal forwards, it's generally an extraordinary situation, whether it's positive or negative. But using the positive situation as an example, like normally in the winter I go on a little ski trip, and when I go skiing I'm not like practicing baseball, but that experience of going skiing and pursuing that kind of different passion and trying to like have as much fun and get as much out of that as possible is actually really satisfying, and I really do enjoy doing it.
I mean, for me, I disagree. I could tell, like, the days when I don't lift, like, if I don't lift for a day because of whatever reason, like, I'll feel like shit for that entire day. Like the days when I'm lifting, like, that time is, like, my favorite part of the day. Like, it's not even close. Like, if I don't do that, I'll feel like the day, like, almost, like, didn't even happen. Nothing important happened that day. Like, during the summer, I sprained my ankle, so I couldn't really do anything for, like, almost 2 weeks, like a week and a half. And like that period of time just sucked because like I remember I missed like a fun tournament. I was just chilling at home, like just literally doing nothing. Like, when I say doing nothing, I'm sure I was like doing stuff. I probably didn't start somewhere or whatever. Like I was probably doing stuff, but like just not like doing the things that like I prioritize in my life made it feel like I was just kind of like just holding my dick doing nothing.
Yeah, I agree with that a lot. I think I bring this up because there are so many examples we see online of like people who are so committed to like something like the Navy or so committed to a sport, right? Once they retire, so many people enter like this state of depression. Like so many Navy SEALs like get out of that and like just have like a lack of purpose in their life.
Right.
You know, and I feel like I've seen that on a smaller scale in parts of my own life. I mean, even on like a long weekend, like I just feel like shit when I go home for a long weekend because all of a sudden like I'm lazy again, I'm not doing shit, and like the days kind of go by where I'm just feeling like crap. And I think the biggest time frame for me when I felt like shit from like a lack of purpose was over the summer, because I was part of like the EXP program for Peddie, which is like you do research in the lab over the summer. So I was kind of doing it because I felt like it's something I had to do or whatever, and for like college and stuff. And I go there, and immediately when I'm there, I feel horrible because I'm working this 9 to 5 job over there. Like I don't have any time to like pursue what I want to pursue. Like sure I'll lift and stuff, but I'm there like indoors for 8 hours, feeling like shit. And I remember like how like the pain I felt in those first 3 weeks, like being away, and, like a sense of purpose in my life, and like how it kind of like deteriorated like a lot of the life qualities and stuff.
I think you have to reinvent your purpose when you're not able to pursue what you're doing, like what your main thing is. I think you have to be able to find. I mean, if you're doing nothing, right, like what you said with injury, like obviously you're gonna feel pretty bad because you feel like you're getting worse, you feel like you're hurt, and you feel like everybody around you is getting better. So like you don't feel really good about what's happening. But I feel like if you're in a situation where you can't do something that you want to do, you have to find something else that gives you purpose. Or else, yeah, you're gonna feel pretty purposeless. I mean, there are a bunch of things that I like to do. Like in the summer, there are times where I can't do what I want to do for baseball just because I don't have a cage or I don't have access to a weight room. But I have to get out and find something to do. Whether that's like if I can't lift on that day, but I can like go surfing, like, I'm doing something to make myself better and feel better. And that would be something like an example of something that makes me feel like I have a little bit more purpose and something that brings me joy rather than just like chilling out. I know for me, video games are like the one thing. When I sit and play video games, as fun as they can be, at the end I always feel tired.
I agree.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of like having hobbies outside of your main passion.
Exactly.
I think it's important. Yeah, I mean, for you it seems like it doesn't seem like that big of a jump for you because you're sure you're on a break, but you're skiing. Sure you're not around baseball, but you're surfing. Right? So you kind of feel the time in a different way. So yeah, I think finding those other things is probably important. Like I know obsession, we define obsession as a good thing because you're making as much progress as possible toward the process that you love. But I think maybe it's important for like maybe me and other people to find like different hobbies to fill that extra time in, like over a long weekend, like going out doing something else. Like I like hiking, so maybe I can like try to dedicate those times, like being outdoors, spend time with my family. But
And like you mentioned how like lab work was not something that made you like excited. Like you didn't. I mean, what were you researching when you did?
it was like boring. It was like comp sci stuff.
So like concept stuff. So like, if that wasn't something that was exciting you, then that's like if you find lab work that makes you really want to do it and you want to go in there and spend 8 hours doing that, and that's something that you're passionate about, you're obviously going to find that purpose. I think it's really important to align what you're going to do, as long as you have control over it, like to some degree, with something that you really enjoy doing. I think that not only having hobbies, but like they're all things that we have to do. And sometimes we don't want to do those things, but there are ways to do things that you can enjoy. Like if you did a lab on something that you were passionate about, maybe you wouldn't have felt that same kind of like purposelessness because you were doing something that made you excited.
I think it did start to pick up over time. I think less about like the interest in the lab and more that I filled up my time with other things as well. I got pretty close to my grad student. He was a great guy, so we went out fishing a couple times. He had kayaks, so I spending time with him, like that was fun for me as well. I made friends with a couple people at the lab, so we'd we'd hang out with them. But then since we were in New Hampshire, I don't know if I mentioned that, there's a lot of shit to do in New Hampshire I learned over time. So like over the weekends, we go up to the White Mountains and stuff like that, and that was so much fun. I've been lifting every day again, so in the evening I lift. But yeah, I started to fill up my time more and more, so over time it got a lot better, and I ended up really enjoying the experience, but I definitely in the beginning, I felt that kind of like huge jump.
But I know what you mean when you're talking about like feeling lazy. Like when you feel like you don't do something, or you exchange, like when it's a conscious exchange of like, I'm using video games as an example, like and shell shockers, because that's what we do. We play shell shockers every night. But like when I hop on shell shockers for like those 40 minutes, it's really fun. Like those are a fun 40 minutes. But as soon as I close my computer, I feel like I wasted 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's like your life quality diminishes and more and more like stimulus to that, I feel like.
Exactly.
I'm scared of video games just because I know I get really, really obsessive with things I do, and like there have been times where I've like played so much video games. It was like insane. Like I definitely could during COVID. I played like I'd get on with the boys at like 8. Then it's 5. I'm like doing the birds jumping outside. I'm playing Call of Duty. Like we finished Call of Duty at like 1, and then I help on Minecraft with my other friends. It's like, dude.
Have you seen the images of like people whose heads have like the dents now from the headphones?
Oh, what?
So like people who wear headphones all the time, especially when they're younger, the weight of the headphones causes a deformation in the skull.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
And the skull?
Yeah, it like makes a little dent. It's like a little bump.
But what about like, okay, headphones, sure. What about like football helmets? Like, are there other things that are doing that through school? Or?
Oh, I'm sure there are other things that do that. It's just something that they're seeing in gaming because the way the headphones so like exaggerated, like one
You
spot.
also probably have headphones, like if you're a crazy gamer, like you could be sporting headphones for like 7 hours a day. Like,
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
It's pretty crazy.
I try to avoid video games completely because I know when I start, I go off to
Yeah, I know. Like in the summer, I generally will play Minecraft, like really hardcore for like a week and a half.
It's a fun game, but I get memories on it.
Best memories. Best memories. I never had like a console or like a real gaming computer, but Minecraft always worked. So
Always.
that was my go-to.
That's the game I always came back to.
Fortnite always lagged for me. It's bad. You know your computer's bad when Fortnite's lagging.
Yeah, I mean, I think stimulus in general does diminish. I think what happens with stimulus, right? So I think video games are an example, but there's obviously so many other things like TikTok, social media. I think the thing about stimulus is that those moments where you're engaging in them feel really, really good. When it doesn't do anything to your baseline, right? So you have a baseline level of happiness, and the external things around you can only stimulate that, but they can't actually change that baseline, right? But they can actually like weaken that baseline because if the moment where it's like, if I get a dopamine high, I'll get a dopamine trough as well, right? And your baseline starts to decrease. And I think it goes back to the quote I was talking about before, because like when I start removing these things, it's like when I go back to those things, it's like I can immediately feel like diminished quality in my life, right? But I have like a pretty extreme example, which I feel like I shared with you, really weird, but like I've always been into music. I love music, right? In September, I decided to like try this like new discipline thing where I went the whole month of September without listening to music. So when I'm lifting, when I'm like in the shower, I just didn't listen to music, right? And for me, like it was hard at first because like I love like some of the music I listen to, I love it, but I slowly got used to it. But my life quality was really good in September. I felt great all the time of the day. And then in October, for a week, I decided to listen to music again. And I felt like shit.
Really?
It's like just throughout the day, I think what quitting music did to me was that like, it made every minute of the day just like that much better, right? Because when you like the stimulus, like the baseline goes up like so much, where it's like, literally just like folding my laundry and I feel so good. Like I know it sounds kind of weird, but like, you find so much joy in just like little things throughout the day. Where it's like, I'm not saying I'm gonna do music forever. I'm still gonna listen to more and more. I think it's still a great thing, like, but in moderation, just because now that I've left it, I know, it's a bit back to the quote, I know how good life can be without it. Like, I kind of know that mental affliction, it's hard to go back to it. But like maybe once a week, every now and then, I'll play some music, but I can't compare it to like the level of like fulfillment I feel like each day when I go to bed. When I like have a day like it's free of stimulus, right?
Yeah, I think the external, artificial stimulus. I think like when you think stimulus, I think stimulus could be the trees outside, the air, the grass. I think that's different. But like the artificial stimulus that's outside of what the real world can provide to you, as you said, it just makes you feel like you're missing out on something in some way or another. Like when you hop on social media and you see all these people doing like their peak, you see a collection of what is the peak output of their life. And I mean, it makes you feel like they're doing that while I'm sitting here doing homework, right? And then you go back to doing homework and you don't like homework anyway, and now you feel really shitty when you're doing your homework. You feel like your experience that you're having right now isn't as valuable as theirs is because there's 20 other people having that experience and you're just sitting and doing nothing.
Yeah.
And I think that that's like, it trains your brain to think that that's what you're entitled to, even though that doesn't really even exist. And I think that's really dangerous.
I think, yeah, we used to live in tribes of 50 people, right? Living up in the tribe is pretty easy. But now you live in a tribe with 7 billion people because you can look on the internet and like see the best person in the world and everything. You're constantly being exposed to like the best in the world. It's like everyone is living on first world standards 24/7. Like you see what's possible online, you see the fancy car, you see all the shit online, and you're just always comparing yourself to that standard, right? Because I think another definition for happiness I heard is that happiness equals what you get minus what you expected. And that's more of a fulfillment thing, right? If I had low expectation that I got a lot, I'll feel very happy, right? And the thing with social media does is like, okay, you might be 1 in a million at a skill, right? You might be like 1 in a million in baseball, or even 1 in 100. But if you're 1 in a million in baseball and then you're how good you are, there's 20 of you in New York. Right. So, and you can see that online. You can see all the best players in baseball. Well, how special are you then?
Right.
You're always comparing yourself to like, there's always something better than you.
Especially if your expectation is like, oh, I'm 1 in a million, I'm gonna be better than everyone, and then you go to like state games or whatever, and in that you're not even starting. It's like, damn, where the fuck did that come from?
I mean, like it's so easy. If you have like a tribe, even with 200 people, it's so easy to level up and like have your skill and like feel like you're important. But when you have infinite desires for something with social media, it's like it's hard to ever free yourself from that.
There's also a positive side to it, though. I mean, you do feel like you have, like when you're the best at something, there is a essence of complacency. Like some of that motivation comes from inside, but a lot of the motivation to get better comes from trying to catch up to people. And I don't mean that like I gotta catch up to them, but like just trying to improve yourself so you can compete against and be on the same level as the people around you. And I think that the benefit of social media is that it can really motivate you to do things that maybe you wouldn't have done before. Like if you see, just like as a surfer, like if I see somebody who's like catches this great wave and does something really cool, now I'm gonna go try and emulate that. I'm gonna try and do that. And I probably will never be able to do it.
Right.
I'm gonna try and in the process of trying to get to where they're at, I'm gonna become a better surfer along the way. And I think
The problem is that that's not
really
real.
fun.
Like what you see is not. You watch someone ground a BP on Instagram, you're like, damn, like I want to be hitting the ball that hard. Like it's not real, bro. Like that's not a maintainable thing. If it's like a real life thing and you have a role model and you're like, all right, like I have this person who you're a freshman in college at Haverford or whatever, right? And you're watching senior captains VP, and you're like, damn, like, that's something that I want to maintain. Like, you could see that person like achieving success and also failing, right?
Yeah, I
like
think
Instagram, you don't see the failures.
Yeah, what's important to consider is that there's failure. Before they landed that air, they fell 30 times.
Yeah.
Right? Before they took that, they took that perfect round of batting practice. That's a 1 out of 20 round of batting practice. Like, it's important to see those things.
I see Jackson's point a little bit. I think I might word it a little differently, just because I think what the internet unlocks is your ability to be anything. Like, I might be very interested in a very niche topic, but because of the internet, I can become an expert in the topic, right? Because of exposure to like people online, I can see what's possible, and I'm not only limited to like what's around me. Like, I might grow up in a very like the culture is very limited, but I think the internet unlocks you to become good at anything, right? I can go on YouTube and watch 20 hours of videos on sleep, and I can know more than 99% of people around me. So I think internet unlocks you to be very skilled at what you do because you're exposed to all the great minds of the world. But at the same time, I think this other point that you're never gonna be free, right? I think like a lot of life is about freeing yourself from your desires. I mean, that aligns with us, the religion. I follow like Hinduism. You're constantly trying to free yourself from the world, things like that. And it's hard to free yourself when your desires is constantly being placed on you. Like, and I think it's hard with that because you might be really passionate about this thing, but you see an influencer doing this thing, and now you're passionate about this thing, and now you're passionate about this thing, and you see this guy, and you tend to get bad desires as well. Like, you get desires of fame, you get desires of status, you get desires of money. If you listen to music about like bodies and cars, I know it sounds pretty cringe, but those desires will play something as well. Like, you're gonna want to pursue those same things as well, see online. So I think they both play a role in it. I think it's still possible to use the internet in a good way and use it to your advantage if you're at least knowledgeable about the bad parts of it and you're able to kind of limit that out. And that way, I think, I'm not saying we should go back to like the days of hunters and gatherers, but it's powerful, but if you use it mindfully, I think it's really powerful.
Yeah, but this is just like what we talked about in the beginning, or I guess a little while ago, when we were talking about when you're trying to get better at something, you have to like absorb the information. But at the same time, if you like take it all in, it's gonna hurt you. So sometimes you have to take it in like a focused amount, or you have to like apply a focused amount of what you see. If I go on Instagram, I can scroll for a million hours before I run out of content to look at. But if I kind of absorb like a little bit and only take out the positives or try to, it's going to give me a positive experience rather than like if I'm scrolling kind of mindlessly, taking the good and the bad and kind of everything. It's going to be like a net zero experience at the end of the day. And then I just wasted time.
Yeah, I'm very much not a fan. Like, I literally just start deleting Instagram whenever I'm, like, if I want to use it, like, I'll allow myself to use it because I kind of want, like, that healthy-ish relationship where I'm not, like going crazy, like, okay, I'm not allowed to use this, but, like, if I am going to use Instagram, like, I'll download it, like, back to my phone, use it for whatever time, and when I'm done, I'll just, like, delete it.
I like that.
Because then you don't get into the habit of, like, just randomly, like, you open your phone and then, like, zone out, and then you just find yourself like, damn, I just wasted 25 minutes just scrolling through Instagram.
It's
Yeah,
amazing how
so
fast.
do you go through periods where you delete it?
Yeah.
I think, I don't know if you experienced this, but like when I first deleted Instagram last August, when I deleted it, I noticed I'd sit on the toilet and my hand would swipe down, hit I, and notice there's nothing there, and then realize that shit, I wasn't even conscious about the fact I was trying to go on Instagram. My mind is just programmed to just like go on.
Exactly.
Has that happened to you as well?
Yeah, definitely.
It's insane. Like, yeah, I think what our phones is doing is it's like programming our mind to get the stimulation every time our body wants a dopamine hit. Right? Every time we're bored, we just sit there, right? So
It's crazy. The way these apps are designed is like ridiculous. I mean, there was a speaker who came to Lawrenceville last week to talk about how the same technology that goes into casino games to help like to make players want to spend more money is the same like technology that they put into these apps. And like the regulated dopamine hits, they actually limit the amount of quality content you see, so you scroll longer, and the spacing is such that you are like optimally going through this dopamine withdrawal, despite like being like the isolated experience.
I saw this.
So they're actually like messing with your head in order to make you scroll longer and see more advertisements. And I think that's scary and dangerous. Like, you're being manipulated, and most people don't know.
Have you heard of this?
Yeah.
Like basically, like the casino machine, the way it works is that you don't, obviously, when you use a casino machine, you hit it, you're not going to get a reward every time. You're going to get some reward, but you're going to get some failure as well. But the fact that they add some failure into there is what makes you addicted to the game, right? They did an experiment with rats where basically, if they gave a rat a lever, every time they hit the lever, they got food, the rats would hit it every time they get bored of it. When you hit the lever, sometimes you get food, sometimes you don't get food. There's a variability in it. The rats are fucking addicted to snack ration. The thing with TikTok is like, there's some videos that are like pretty funny, some videos that are boring, but your mind gets addicted to the idea, and the mind gets addicted to this idea of trying to find like good content. So another big theme on the podcast is trying to define like what an ideal life looks like in your life. So we've talked a lot about different perspectives on like building good relationships with people, different ways to kind of find happiness. But in your eyes, what would you define as like an ideal life, a good life?
I think a good life has a balance between freedom as well as like being able to continue to pursue your passion. So to some degree, like the ideal life would be definitely something that has to be earned, can't be given to you, because if not, you don't feel that satisfaction. But once you get to the point where you can have freedom, especially with your time, that's the biggest one. Everybody talks about financial freedom, but the biggest freedom is your time. If you can get your time back and have the time to do what you want, you're going to be able to pursue your passions. And as long as you can pursue your passions and continue to improve yourself and be obsessed with getting better and be obsessed with trying to be happier and feel as good as you can, you're going to have a pretty good life. And I think that's the goal. I think the goal is to be in a position where I have freedom of time, because realistically, you can make more money, but you can't make more time. And I know that's like really cliche, but once you run out of time, that's it. So you have to be able to spend the time wherever you want to.
I think freedom of time is a big one, because I think most people have all these passions and stuff, but they don't really see that translation. So I might be very interested in like this specific niche or topic. I might be interested in baseball, but like if we look down the road, it's hard to translate a lot of these interests into a job, right? And we kind of think, okay, we'll pursue our interests and work a job at the same time. It's a lot of people do that. When you start working a job, you're working 8 hours a week. You come home and you're tired. Sorry, 8 hours a day. You come home, you're tired, so you kind of slack off. You don't get much time on the weekend, and all of a sudden that freedom of time goes away, right? It's hard to find that freedom of time when you're kind of working a job that you're kind of stuck in, you're kind of constrained to. I think school is similar in a way, but at the same time you have like sports and like different interests built into the program, so you still have that kind of ability to make use of that time. But I think for someone who might be trapped in the future into a very restricted time zone, how do you think people can really escape from that?
And I think it's just a matter of like you have to enjoy like the moment. I guess I've already spoken about that, but like if you're kind of thinking while you're working, if you're like, okay, I just want to get back home and be done with this, and like that time is going to drain like the shit. Like you'll have no energy left to like enjoy your free time, whatever small amount of it you have. So like at least for me, I was kind of joking about this yesterday. Like all I care about is like I want to do something that like I at least some of the time enjoy what I'm doing. You know, like regardless of how much money it's making or whatever, like as long as I'm enjoying my time doing it, then like whatever, you know. And at least for like I'm kind of blessed that my interests of like math and science and baseball, like there are some jobs that like combine that, which is kind of my dream job. And like that would be ideal. But even if like those jobs are shouldn't be very hard to land. So even if you can't land that job, that doesn't mean you have to like just stop pursuing your hobbies. It's a matter of like getting through like the workday, and then like not dreading it so much that all your energy is drained in doing that. Like try to do it and then maybe look forward to having the free time to pursue your interests as well.
Dude, part of that does come though from also having the monetary ability to do that. I mean, if it's not something that's built into what you're doing, or like if it's independent of, you still have to be able to fund it. So if you're financially limited to not being able to do that, then it's like you're really gonna hate what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think I like the idea you brought up with the presence piece of it, like enjoying the moment of doing it, because before we were talking about how time goes by so fast, right? And I think what I realized is that one of the reasons why I felt time went by so fast for me is because I spent a lot of time thinking about the future and a lot of time thinking about the past, right? I think if you observe like your thought patterns throughout the day, a lot of your thoughts are just in the future or in the past, right? I'm either looking forward to something coming out, or I'm thinking back of something that happened in the past. It could be on a small scale, like what am I going to do tomorrow? You know, basically, I'm so excited for like college. I'm so excited for next summer.
Right.
I could be thinking about like memories from the past. I could be thinking about what I did yesterday. But I think the ability to be present is like a very important skill, just because it kind of takes you out of the anxious thoughts of the future, the trauma thoughts of the past, and just being here in the now. And I think that can help to like slow down time, appreciate more, because I think we think of time as a very like numerical thing, that time goes by at this specific pace, but I think the way your brain comprehends time is different from like actual time, right? Because if you're standing in line at the supermarket, it's going to feel longer than if you're scrolling on Instagram, right? I think time perception is very different skills, and I think there's things we can do to help explain that time. And I think if you're spending a lot of your time really present, like you're doing something you love, like playing sport, like even if you're just doing sport, you kind of like enjoy the process of living in some way, like you're in the present moment while doing it. I think in that way you can kind of enjoy, like make your day more fulfilling and then have a more enjoyable life because of that as well.
I completely agree.
Alright, well thank you guys so much for coming on. It's been great.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you for having me.
We have one more at some point.
I'll run it back.
Always fun.
Alright, peace.
Pencil in, all right.